Subtle skills, big results.
Welcome to the Ninja Selling Podcast.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Ninja Selling Podcast. I am Rob Nelson, and Larry Kendall is here with me today to sort of reminisce about the past and talk about the future. So, Larry, welcome. Thanks for being here. Why don't you tell them what we're going to talk about?
Well, Rob, thanks for inviting me back, and we're going to talk about sales meetings.
Yeah. Let me start with story time, Larry. This is an interesting scenario in our world. Larry Kendall has many, many people who love him and many people who just show up randomly in his life. And an example of that is a guy named Bob. Bob is a retired real estate agent from the group. He worked with Larry for many years. And occasionally, Bob just swings by our office to see if Larry happens to be in. More often than not, Larry's out there on stage or in front of you. But sometimes Larry's here, so Bob keeps coming back. And one day, Bob and I were just chatting when he came in. And I said, Bob, tell me about the good old days. Tell me about what the group was like, because he was there during a period where you guys were just blowing and going. Tell us a little bit about, the vibe of the group at that time, what the results were like, the size of the company. Give us that scenario, and then I'll tell you his answer for me.
Well, Bob and I worked together for over 40 years. During our heyday, that was when we were the most productive real estate company in America. The highest we hit was 52 transactions per associate. That was back before teams, so that was individual agents. A few of them had personal assistants. Most of them were using the office staff. Highly productive, high energy. We were all pretty young. There was a lot of young energy, a lot of drive to succeed, a culture, really. And I think that that culture, kind of the defining moment of the culture was always the weekly meeting.
Yeah.
And when we started, we actually had 2 meetings a week. Ultimately, we thought that was overkill, so we had 1 meeting a week. And at one point, companies were going to once a month or even once a quarter. And we asked our people, do you want to go to once a month? And their comment was, don't you dare take my meeting away from me. It was that important to them.
That was when Bob and I were talking about it. There were 2 things that he reminisced about: was driving down College Avenue with Larry Kendall and just the time in the seat and the one-on-one that he would get with you. And the second was the sales meeting. And the sales meeting was sort of the antithesis of one-on-one, because it was a group dynamic, tons of synergy, tons of excitement and energy. And he said for him, the sales meeting was the group's culture. And Larry, as we talk about building a community at Ninja, one of the things we're going to talk about today is the Ninja sales meeting. And we're going to get there. I'm going to tease that a little bit. But I want you to take us back to the early days of the group, the days when you and Bob were driving down College Avenue together. What inspired you to start this sales meeting? I know you used to have 2, but what led to starting an in-person sales meeting that was held at a regular time, at a regular place, and there was an expectation that the associates would show up?
Yeah, and they did show up. I think that was what was phenomenal to people who would come to visit us. It was standing room only. And people would very seldom miss the meeting. If they had a closing or if they were out of town, they would. But otherwise, they were there. That was, as one of them said, that's my weekly energy boost. And I think one of the things we'll talk about, what is the goal of a great meeting, is what they said was, I come to that meeting and that meeting makes me money. I do deals based upon what happens in that room. I don't want to miss that. That's very, very important to me. I think a sales meeting is the culture point of your office. If you have great meetings, attendance will soar, tribe gets bigger, stronger, they get more connected. You're creating a high-performance culture and rising market share and productivity as a result of that.
There you go. This stuff doesn't happen by accident. I think any manager out there, or even any agent who's ever been asked to present at a meeting, knows how much effort, time, and preparation goes into a great sales meeting. So you spent a lot of time on this over the years. What were some of the intentional elements that you would build into your meetings that would make them more than just a business update for people?
Well, going way back, Aristotle made a comment that there are 3 keys to persuasion: ethos, logos, and pathos. And ethos is ethics or credibility. So do you have the credibility to stand in front of the room and say what you're saying? Or if you invite one of your partners to get up and talk about how they do their listing or what, they have credibility because they're doing it. So making sure that whoever's at the front of the room has credibility, knows what they're talking about, very, very important. Logos is making sure you have the facts, the meaning, the science behind it. And then, of course, pathos is passion. Anything you could do to build passion in the room. We would a lot of times would show videos. We played music when you got there. It was rocking and rolling. There was a high energy, and probably some of the greatest moments that I can recall was when one of our partners would stand up and just either with tears in their eyes or pounding their fist was excited to share their story, share what had happened that week, share how it had changed their life or maybe one of their clients' lives, that type of passion. And I think the feeling that people had for each other.
Yeah, I think that's why Bob shared that in his many, many years at the group, the sales meeting was what he remembers the most.
Yeah.
Real estate and business in general has changed a lot. Certainly in the four decades, I think that you were doing the sales meeting, right? But maybe more so, the pace of change accelerated quite a bit since the pandemic. How do you see that the pace of change has affected the rituals that we relied on? So, for example, like a sales meeting, how did that all change as a result of evolution and most recently sort of accelerated evolution?
Well, when we were at our most productive level at 52 transactions per associate per year, that time there was no internet. So there wasn't the option of, let's see if we can sit at home and watch a screen and be productive. So that was one thing I think that was different. Secondly, the average sales price was so much lower that if you wanted to really make a lot of money, you had to do a lot of deals.
Yeah.
And so those two things have really changed. I think along the way, there is this infatuation with whatever is the new gimmick, whether it's effective or not. If it's new, it must be. We got to make sure we don't, FOMO, miss out on something. Mm-hmm. So let's run down this path. But there are certain universal principles that apply over time. And yes, the technology, maybe how we do the business is going to change, but what we do and the relationships that we build, that is universal, in my opinion.
Yeah. You and I have a weekly meeting on Tuesdays. It's about 50% mentorship and 50% business to-do list, right? And yesterday you kind of opened my eyes to the fact that for many, many years, Larry Kendall carried around a list of innovative new ideas, things that he wanted to explore and to implement and those sorts of things. And that in the last few months has evolved into a list of things that you used to do and stopped doing, or that business people or cultures used to do and stopped doing. Tell us about that.
Well, if you've been through the Ninja installation, there's an exercise in the first hour called the F test. And we have you look on a sheet of paper. There's a paragraph there, and you have to circle the Fs. And then you count them up, and then you get in small groups, and you see if you can find a few more. And almost always, you'll find a few more when you're in a small group. And then I make a comment. That's just like being at a sales meeting. Those Fs represent transactions. And my experience is if you get a group of really good salespeople together and they start sharing what they have and what they know and what they've got coming and what they know about the market, deals will start to occur.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen on a Zoom call. It's just there are certain principles that have to happen face to face, basically.
Yeah. And I think what that emphasizes is another facet of a successful meeting is not just a rah, get them pumped up, send them out the door. It's not just making sure you have good catering and the best donuts in town. Some of it is you need to create some results for people in their time there. Yeah. Tell us how you did that.
Well, what I would always start the meeting out with gratitude. Okay. So turn to the person next to you, share with them what you're grateful for. They would do that. And then I would say, get in small groups and share with each other what you have that isn't on the market yet. What do you have coming? And inevitably, and then I would ask for a show of hands, how many of you potentially have a deal that you put together from that?
Yep.
Or I'd ask the question, if you had a buyer with unlimited resources, they said, what is the best buy in town right now?
Deal of the week.
Deal of the week. What would you say to them? Do you know the deal of the week? Do you know your market that well? Do you know it by price range or by zip code? If you had a buyer, what is the best buy in 80525 zip code? What is the best waterfront property right now or golf course property? Do you know? You should.
Investment property, right?
Investment. What is the best investment right now?
Yeah.
I would ask that relentlessly every week. And they would ask that of each other in small groups. And they would share And, the synergy there, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Transactions would start to flow. And my experience is that if you can have a meeting where people come to it and they either put a transaction together, have the potential to put a transaction together, or learn something that will help them later put a transaction together, they're smart people. They're going to be coming back.
Sure. And you would put a lot of emphasis on your preparation and the quality of what you put together in the sales meeting. And you did that because you were cognizant of the value of this hour of time, right?
Yes.
Tell me about that. How did you calculate how much impact you needed to generate in your hour of attention that you had from the 100+ people that were there?
Well, we knew that we had only an hour. We couldn't go longer. We needed to start on time. When people, I like to use the example that was a lot like a church service, pretty raucous church service, because when you walk in, there's rock and roll music playing. There's very high energy. But just like when you walk into a church service, there's music. So it would start with the music, and then I would start the meeting without really starting the meeting, because some of the people they're going to be on realtor time.
Yep.
They're going to be 5 minutes late. So we would usually start with a video, a motivational video, an inspirational video. By the time the video is done, so you start on time because the perfection people, they're looking, hey, are we starting on time? There's other people that aren't there yet, but by the time the video's over, they're there. And then just like in a church, the minister comes out and makes announcements. Okay, so we would make announcements, we would do our tour and so on. If you're going to have guest speakers, such as you want to have a lender come in or a title person come in or a builder, make sure that you control that so that it shouldn't be more than about 10 minutes. Don't let that become your program.
Yeah.
And then you have the program. Program needs to answer this question. How can we help somebody improve their business or their life? What can we do? What are some takeaways that they can have, that they can walk out of here and it will make a difference in their business or in their life? And sometimes the best programs were people from our own company that I would ask if they would share, how they did that transaction or how they list a house, et cetera, how they work with first-time buyers or how they work with investors, all of that. But you need to have that sermon, if you will, that again follows that ethos, logos, pathos formula. Finally, you want to make sure that they walk out of there in the high positive energy quadrant.
Ready to go.
If you've got some bad news that you have to share, and that does happen, share that at the beginning, not at the very end. Not this, oh, by the way, at the end that's negative. Make sure that any negativity, anything that you have to discuss that might be a little bit of a downer, discuss that early and have it end on an upbeat.
Yeah. I think one of the evolutions in our business has been teams, and many teams exist inside of brokerages or are quasi-brokerages, right? So what would you say to a team leader or a sales manager or a broker owner who's sitting here wondering if these types of meetings are outdated or would be well received by their people? Well,
it's interesting you ask about teams, because the most productive, and first of all, let's talk about productive teams. Some teams are not particularly productive and they don't have the intention to be productive. They have other goals. But for the productive teams, what I've observed is they meet, many of them daily. Some of the most high-performing teams that I know, they meet every morning. And it's a short meeting. It might only be 15 minutes. It might be 30 minutes, but they meet on a daily basis. They certainly meet on a weekly basis. That tells me they find the value in having a get-together. It's part of their culture. And the most productive ones, it's all about how do we do deals? What can we do? What needs to be done? Who's ready to go? How do we help them go from the life they have to the life they dream about? All of that. One of the most productive small teams that I remember, there were four, they happened to be four guys. One of them, their wife was the administrative assistant. She ran the virtual office staff. So they had virtual marketing, they had virtual accounting, they had virtual transaction manager, et cetera, virtual technology officer. And she ran that. And these four guys met every morning at 8 o'clock. And they went around and here's what I have. Here's what I got coming. Here's what I know. Here's the best deal right now. They did all the stuff we just talked about, and they put deals together. And they were averaging about 60 transactions each a year, which is pretty good.
Probably a lot of team leaders listening to this who would be happy if all of their team members were at 60 transactions.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what comes next.
Okay.
I think the intent of what we're going to talk about is rooted in the idea of building a community and creating so much value for that community through collaboration, through experiential learning, through peer learning, through all of the things that contributed to the group's culture turning into the most high-performing real estate company in the country for a long period of time. And we are going to bring back a monthly sales meeting to the Ninja Nation. So, Larry, why are you excited to do this, and what's it mean?
Well, this will be the Ninja Sales Meeting, and we do have quite a community of ninjas. So this will be. I wish we could do it in person. Wouldn't that be great?
That would be amazing.
We're gonna start it out online. It may evolve into something we don't even know what it might be. We're going to start this thing. We're going to follow some of the same principles that we've followed in our other meetings, such as we're going to start with what is the goal? The goal is return on investment. You're going to invest. These meetings won't be more than 30 minutes. They may be less. But when you're done, you're going to say, that was a really valuable 30 minutes to me. I got an idea that's going to put a transaction together for me. I got an idea that's going to save me time. That was worth it. So the goal is return on investment for you in your time. The money is complementary, so there's no investment of money. But the most important investment is your time.
Yeah.
And we want to give you a return on that investment. And we want you to have takeaways. We want you to finish that meeting with ideas, with takeaways, with skill sets that will help you have a great month.
Yeah. So here's how this is going to work. The first Monday of every month, we are going to have live the Ninja Sales Meeting. So we've been doing a live version of the weekly action tips, sort of testing the waters of what this may be like. Those are committed to being 20 minutes or less. And they are a very specialized, about 15 minutes of action-based content. This is going to be an expansion of that, but it's only going to be 30 minutes long. The Ninja Sales Meeting will be complimentary, and they'll be hosted by Larry Kendall. So you're going to do them whenever possible. There's a couple of dates that you're otherwise obligated, and we certainly have a plan around that. But one of the things that when Bob and I talked about the sales meeting is he got to see Larry at his absolute best in front of the group, doing what he did, mining the ideas, distilling them down into actions, and helping people create change in their business and life. And so, Larry, you did this thousands of times before. You took a break for about 10 or 15 years of doing sales meetings. And when I pitched you on this idea, you had a sense of enthusiasm about it, probably enthusiasm. If you had to do the group sales meeting every week, you probably wouldn't be as enthusiastic about this one as well. But there's been enough time, there's been enough gap, and you still remember how to do it.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about it. And, we'll launch in. I think we'll look at what is the greatest challenges that you're having right now in the market. One of the ones I'm hearing quite a bit is on pricing. So we'll have sessions on, a topic on pricing or different aspects of pricing, for example. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be fun. And then also we'll give you the opportunity to submit questions. You can, when you register for the meeting, you can submit a question. We'll curate those. We'll come up with some of the ones that seems like a lot of people have. And we'll take 5 minutes at the very end, and I'll do my very best to answer those questions too. Yeah.
Here's how it's going to work. So we will post links to register and join for this event across all of our channels. So that means follow us on social media. If you can follow the Ninja Selling page on Facebook or Ninja Selling Official on Instagram. We have the official Ninja Installation Graduates Facebook group for people who have attended a Ninja installation. And we have the Ninja Selling Podcast Facebook group for those that have not. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to our communication list, which is basically what gets you the weekly action tip email, just go to ninjaselling.com. Up at the top, in that top navigation bar on the left, you'll see subscribe. Give us your email address. We'll let you know. So we will put all over the place how to join this, but it's going to start July 7th, 8 a.m. Mountain Time for 30 minutes. Now, the first question we're going to get from about 10,000 people is, will there be a replay available? Yes, there will always be a replay available. We'll let you know what that's going to look like. But in those links that we provide, there will also be a submit your question to Larry. And now Larry is going to get many, many questions. And so you have a small set of criteria that you think will help us narrow down questions that would be most beneficial for you to address. Tell us what you would like to talk about in the Q&A sessions.
Either number one, how a challenge I'm having in my business. How do I do price reductions? How do I handle investors or buyers, something transaction related or relationship with clients related. And the second piece would be maybe you're struggling with how you keep your head above water in your business. Maybe managing your time is the key for you. How do I maintain altitude and still have a life in my business? So your business and your life, those are the two things we're looking for.
Yeah, awesome. My last question for you is, why now? Why is this the right time to bring back a tradition that dates back to 1976 when you started the group? But why now, and how does this connect to your vision for Ninja?
Well, why now? First of all, what I'm noticing is after COVID, after the movement to Zoom, et cetera, there was kind of a movement from live meetings to Zoom, and then, frankly, even to no meetings at all. I see that our industry, there's a void there. And there's a lot of really good people wandering around wanting to connect to something that's meaningful, that they can get a return on their investment, that they're with a like-minded group of people, the same tribe, a culture, if you will. We're seeing that. Now, you all will tell us if that's the case, because you'll vote with I used to say you vote with your feet, but you'll vote with your clicks. You'll either click on and be a part of it, or you won't. And certainly, if we've misread that, then it's not like we're going to do this where this meeting's for Rob.
Sitting there talking to ourselves.
So I think it'll be. I'm anticipating it'll be very successful. People will love it. It will further our mission of helping to change the industry, change the way salespeople are perceived, build a culture and a tribe of ninjas who have a way of being in the world and a way of working with their clients that's different than the traditional sales approach.
I mean, I think putting it all together, this is 40 years of work that you stopped doing, and that Larry Kendall's list of let's resume the things that were working so well at a moment in time, a little bit of back to the basics, a little bit of everything old is new again. But we are beyond excited to be hosting the inaugural, is it inaugural if it's the first ever Ninja sales meeting on July 7th at 8 a.m.
I'll see you there.
Thanks, Larry.